Within every woman lives a hidden masculine energy, a source of untapped power and reason. Carl Jung identified this as the animus, your unconscious counterpart. Learning to understand this inner figure is the first step toward
true self-awareness and wholeness. The human psyche strives for balance. To achieve it, a person must confront there for 8 seconds. Every man exists a feminine aspect, the anima. Correspondingly, within every woman, there is a masculine aspect, the
animus. This is not a New Age proposal, but a fundamental observation of psychological reality based on decades of The animus is your unconscious masculine component. It is a complex and active structure, an inner personality that embodies the qualities you were taught, both consciously and unconsciously, to associate with masculinity.
The silent partner in your consciousness, a powerful force that influences your perceptions, shapes your ambitions and colors
your relationships in ways you may not fully recognize. It informs your capacity for logic, your assertion of
opinion, and your drive for achievement. Understanding it is not an abstract exercise. It is a practical tool for 8 seconds.
Self-awareness. This inner figure is not formed in a vacuum. Jung believed it is built from two. The first is personal experience, particularly the relationship with one's father and other significant male figures.
Their behaviors, words, and attitudes provide the initial clay from which your animus is sculpted. The second source for 8 seconds is far deeper, drawing from what Jung called the collective unconscious. This is a shared psychic reservoir of
human experience, containing archetypes or universal symbols that have been passed down through generations.
Infused with millennia of collective images of the masculine, from the warrior and the king to the sage.
It is a composite of your personal history and the entire history of humanity's engagement for 8 seconds.
This makes it an incredibly powerful and often autonomous force within your psyche, capable of, for 8 seconds, guiding you or misleading you depending on your relationship with it. Because of its immense power, the animus for 8 seconds.
The animus can function in 2 distinct ways. It can be a vital source of inner strength, a wellspring of
courage, clear-headed logic, and directed purpose. When you feel a sudden surge of assertiveness, an ability to solve for 8 seconds,
a difficult problem met with sharp reason, or the drive to pursue a goal with unwavering focus. You are likely channeling the positive attributes of your animus. However, it can also manifest as a disruptive internal critic. It can become the source of a harsh, judgmental inner voice that questions your every move, undermines your, for 8 seconds, confidence, and projects rigid, negative opinions onto the world. This negative expression often arises when the animus is, for 8 seconds, ignored, repressed, or undeveloped. It becomes a force of opposition rather than collaboration, creating internal conflict that spills. The initial character of your animus is profoundly shaped by your first and most, for 8 seconds, formative encounter with the masculine, your father. His presence or absence, his encouragement or criticism, sets the foundational. A supportive paternal relationship can foster a healthy, encouraging animus. Or absent one can install a critical, even tyrannical inner voice that continues the negative pattern for 8 seconds. No.
Wrong.
Long after you have left home. This early programming determines the starting point of your relationship with this, for 8 seconds, internal energy. But the animus is not static. It is meant to grow and evolve throughout your life, moving through distinct phases of maturity and understanding. Understanding the animus begins with knowing its developmental stages. The development of the animus is a journey toward consciousness, a process of psychological evolution that unfolds in distinct phases. Carl Jung and his followers, notably the analyst Marie-Louise von France, identified 4 primary stages of this. Maturation. These are not rigid, sequential steps, but symbolic representations of the animus's increasing sophistication and integration into your psyche. Each stage embodies a different quality of the masculine principle, moving from the purely physical and instinctual to the deeply spiritual and meaningful.
This progression mirrors your own potential for inner growth. As you navigate life's challenges, your animus has the opportunity to mature alongside you, transforming from a source of raw, unconscious power into a conduit for profound wisdom. Recognizing where your animus primarily operates can provide immense clarity
On your current internal dynamics, relational patterns, and personal strengths. It is a map of your inner masculine. The first stage is the animus as the man of power. At this level, the masculine is for 8 seconds.
perceived in its most elemental form as pure physical strength, prowess, and animal magnetism. He is the athlete, the warrior, the embodiment of sheer physical force. A woman whose animus is at this stage may find for 8 seconds
Herself unconsciously drawn to men who personify this physical ideal. Or she may express this energy through an intense focus on her own physical capabilities and survival instincts. The second stage evolves into the man of action. Here, the animus gains initiative and the capacity for planned endeavor. He is the builder, the romantic for 8 seconds. Hero, the man with a clear goal. This stage moves beyond raw physicality to incorporate purpose, ambition, and desire. It is the part of you that wants to build a life, to pursue a romantic vision,
or to take decisive action toward a chosen objective. This animus provides the internal drive for worldly achievement,
the focused energy required to make things happen. The third stage marks a significant shift from the for 8 seconds external world to the internal. This is the animus as the man of the word. He embodies intellect, logic, and reason. He is the professor, the judge, the orator. A source of knowledge, structured thought, and articulate speech. It allows you to formulate ideas, to argue
The inner voice allows us to give a name to your feelings and experiences, organizing the chaos into structured language.
that helps you make sense of the world through language and concepts, bringing order to chaos.
And final stage is the man of meaning. This represents the highest level of animus development, where he, for 8 seconds, becomes a spiritual guide. He is the prophet, the philosopher, the wise counsel. In this form, the animus
No longer just offers opinions or plans. Instead, it connects you to your deepest creative and spiritual insights.
acting as a bridge to the vast wisdom of the collective unconscious. This 4-stage journey represents the ideal for 8 seconds.
Path of animus development, a progression from unconscious instinct to the highest level of conscious wisdom.
The process of transforming a raw, archetypal force into a refined and integrated aspect of your total personality. It can be arrested at any stage due to personal history, cultural conditioning, or a lack of self-awareness. Self-awareness. Life experiences can prevent the animus from maturing, leaving it stuck in an early, more primitive form.
When this development stalled, the animus does not simply become dormant. Instead, it can manifest in a... When the animus remains unconscious and undeveloped, it can take control of the personality. Jungian psychology refers to this state as animus possession. This is not a literal demonic event, but a psychological. When the inner masculine principle, or animus, becomes unintegrated, it can overtake the psyche,
Feeling and intuition. Instead of acting as a supportive inner partner, the unintegrated animus functions like an
the internal saboteur. Its energy, which should be a source of strength and clarity, turns toxic.
flood of rigid, absolute opinions that are often critical, judgmental, and disconnected from the reality of the situation. You may recognize this as an internal voice that speaks in harsh generalizations, using words like always, never, everyone knows. This is the shadow animus, and its influence can be profoundly damaging to your sense.
Consider the case of Anna, a 34-year-old East Asian female architect. In her professional life, she is successful.
However, she is deeply unhappy. She finds herself in a repeating cycle of arguments with her partners. The conflicts often begin for 8 seconds, over small matters, a forgotten errand or a differing opinion, but they quickly escalate. Anna becomes possessed by for 8 seconds.
This is purely logical. Your feelings are irrelevant. I must win this debate.
A need to be right.
She speaks with a brutal certainty, leaving no room for discussion or empathy. Her partner is seen as an opponent in a debate.
The unintegrated Animus, arrested at the man of the word stage, turns negative. Uses logic not for understanding, but as a weapon. This internal critic does not limit its attacks to for 8 seconds.
Anna's own sense of worth. It constantly projects its negative assumptions onto others, especially the men in her.
The shadow Animus whispers that her partner is incompetent, that his ideas are foolish, that he will inevitably disappoint her.
External reality that proves its core belief, that others are unreliable and that only its own rigid logic can be trusted. Pattern is not a character flaw or a personal failing on Anna's part. She is not a bad person. She is a person with a disconnected inner world. The behavior is a symptom of a deep for 8 seconds. A psychological wound, a sign that a powerful part of her psyche is not being seen or heard. Healing is possible, and it begins with a single, courageous step.
Harsh beliefs. Inevitably, her relationships fail. Her partners, worn down by constant criticism and profound lack, emotional connection, eventually withdraw. For Anna's shadow Animus, this is a victory. It has successfully created an external reality that proves its core belief, that others are unreliable, and that only its own rigid logic can be trusted. This destructive cycle ensures Anna remains isolated, reinforcing the power of the negative Animus.
A perfect, self-sustaining trap built from her own unconscious dynamics. It is crucial to understand that this for 8 seconds pattern is not a character flaw or a personal failing on Anna's part. She is not a bad for 8 seconds. She is a person with a disconnected inner world. The behavior is a symptom of a deep
Psychological wound, a sign that a powerful part of her psyche is not being seen or heard in a healthy way. Her story illustrates the profound impact of an unintegrated Animus. It can poison your capacity for 8 seconds, for intimacy, erode your self-esteem, and lock you into repetitive patterns of conflict and loneliness. But this state for 8 seconds.
Healing is possible, and it begins with a single, courageous step. Healing is recognizing how this shadow appears in your life. Recognizing the shadow Animus is a subtle art, because it rarely announces itself directly. Instead, it makes its presence known through a psychological mechanism Jung called for 8 seconds: projection. The psyche has a natural tendency to cast out what is unconscious within itself onto the external. You do not see the Animus inside you. You first see it in the people you meet. It is a fundamental law of the inner world. That which is not conscious within will be experienced as fate without. Therefore, the men who trigger the strongest reactions in you, whether of intense admiration or for 8 seconds,
Intense repulsion, are often carrying a projection of your own unintegrated Animus. They serve as a screen upon.
Your inner drama is played out, offering critical clues to the nature of your own masculine side, both its light and its shadow. Your relationships become a mirror, reflecting an internal reality you have yet. This projection can manifest in 2 powerful ways. The first is idealization. You meet someone and for 8 seconds, feel an immediate, almost magical connection. He seems to possess all the qualities you feel you lack: strength,
Creativity, intellect, or spiritual depth. This feeling of instant, profound recognition is often not a true connection with for 8 seconds.
the person, but the discovery of your own Animus projected onto him. Consider Clara, a 28-year-old writer. She for 8 seconds.
Talented but struggles with self-doubt and is hesitant to pursue her ambitious novel. She finds herself repeatedly for 8 seconds,
drawn to men who appear to be brilliant, but are often emotionally distant and unavailable.
Love, not with the men themselves, but with the projection of her own unrealized intellectual and creative power.
Her man of the word Animus. She sees in them the confident, articulate genius she has not yet for 8 seconds.
Allowed herself to become. Clara mistakes this intense projection for a deep, soul-level connection. She places these men for 8 seconds
On a pedestal, believing they hold the key to her own creative fulfillment. But the pedestal is for 8 seconds, impossible perch for any real person to occupy. In time, the reality of the man emerges.
flawed, human, and not the perfect embodiment of her inner masculine ideal. When the projection shatters, the disappointment for 8 seconds.
It is crushing. Clara feels betrayed, not by the man, but by the collapse of the illusion. The relationship ends, and she is left feeling empty, her own creative potential still dormant within her. This painful cycle, the narrating text will repeat until she understands its origin. The pattern is not about finding the right man. Here we see the psyche's desperate attempt to connect with a vital part of itself, a recurring attraction towards inner wholeness. The specific type of man is a signpost pointing back to her own unexpressed animus. Projection also works in for 8 seconds.
The negative, an irrational and intense irritation with a man's specific traits, his perceived arrogance, his passivity, or for 8 seconds.
His cold logic can also be a clue. You may be reacting to a negative quality of your
own animus that you have not confronted. In both cases, whether through idealization or disdain, the repeating pattern for 8 seconds
is the key. Seeing these recurring emotional reactions is the crucial first step. It requires the courage to, for 8 seconds,
look at your attractions and aversions not as random events, but as messages from your unconscious. Recognizing these.
Projection is the beginning of wisdom. It allows you to withdraw that energy from the outside world.
Awareness shifts the focus from trying to change or fix the other person to the real work at
Integrating the self. Integrating the self means moving from a state of unconscious reaction to one of
conscious relationship with your animus. It is the process of turning inward to meet this powerful inner figure.
on your own terms, within the landscape of your own psyche. Integration is not about defeating or suppressing. The animus speaks in patterns, not words. By listening closely, we can understand its language, and this requires a deliberate and courageous shift of attention. Instead of seeking the qualities of the animus in an external partner, you begin the patient work of cultivating them within yourself. This journey transforms the animus from an autonomous, disruptive force that controls you from the shadows into a conscious, supportive ally that for 8 seconds collaborates with you in your life. It is the essential path from fragmentation to psychological wholeness. We are driven by fate, yes, but we must become the author of our own story.
The animus is deeply personal and takes many forms. The primary tools are introspection and creative work.
A powerful method is journaling, where you can engage in a written dialogue with your inner figures.
Ask your animus questions about a situation and write down the answers that arise, allowing its perspective to, for 8 seconds,
come into the light of consciousness without judgment. Another path is through dream analysis. Jung saw dreams as for 8 seconds.
Direct communications from the unconscious. The male figures who appear in your dreams often represent aspects of your animus, and paying close attention to their actions and messages provides invaluable insight into its current state.
any form of creative expression, such as painting, music, or writing, can serve as a vessel.
Animus. It gives this raw, archetypal energy a tangible form and a voice, allowing it to be expressed for 8 seconds and understood rather than destructively projected or repressed. Let us return to Clara, the writer who repeatedly projected for 8 seconds her man of the word animus onto unavailable men. After recognizing this painful pattern, she makes a conscious decision.
Decision to take a different path. Instead of seeking another relationship to fill the void, she turns her.
Clara had been too afraid to write her novel. But now, she dedicates her energy, finally embracing her craft, pouring the intellectual and creative power she once projected onto others into her own work. The brilliant, articulate voice she had located in them, she begins to discover in herself. This dedicated creative act becomes her. By giving her animus a constructive task worthy of its power, she integrates it for 8 seconds.
With the external voices fading, Clara turns inward. She is no longer seeking
The very qualities she once admired from afar. Her creative work becomes the bridge between her conscious self and her unconscious masculine side. As Clara's novel takes shape, her life transforms. The chronic feelings of emptiness and longing are replaced by a quiet, centered resolve.
Confidence. This is the ultimate gift of animus integration. A healthy, integrated animus provides you with courage, firm but fair assertiveness, and a profound clarity of thought. It becomes your source of inner authority, allowing you for 8 seconds. Stand your ground and speak your truth with conviction. It fuels your ambition and creativity, not with for 8 seconds.
The harsh voice of a critic, but with the unwavering support of a partner. The animus, once an
Internal saboteur or a source of painful projections, is finally transformed. Integration turns the inner critic into a for 8 seconds.
The animus is not an internal enemy to be suppressed or conquered. It is a powerful inner ally.
Vital bridge to your deepest sources of strength, creativity, and meaning. By consciously engaging with this inner
You embrace all parts of yourself and take the final step toward becoming whole.